Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us for this BBP webinar, Renewable Energy for Small Business. My name is Amanda from BBP, and I'm going to be your host today with Daniela. First, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands from which we reside and work. All of us pay our respects to elders past and present. Please put in the chat where you are residing or working from today. We'd love to see. I think we've got some interstaters. So before we jump in, I just wanted to introduce the Better Business Partnership to anyone who isn't aware of what we do. So we've been around for about 12 years. We are a council-funded business sustainability program. Our current partners are Willoughby, North Sydney and Ku-ring-gai. And we've also just started a pilot in Bayside Council in Sydney. What our mission is to make businesses more successful through sustainability. But in today's environment, we are very aligned with our local council's mission to achieve net zero emissions by around the late 2030s, 2040. And in particular, our mission is aligned to really strengthen the small and medium business community and support them to understand their emission profile and what they can be most effective to do to reduce that carbon footprint. As well as we cover the whole gamut of sustainability, economic, social and environmental. A little bit about our team. So we have a dispersed team. I actually am sitting in Gordon at our host council, Ku-ring-gai. Daniela on the Zoom is the program manager dedicated to businesses in North Sydney. We also have Heather Lindsay and she's in Willoughby. Brenda is our marketing and comms, and we're very excited. David is on the webinar. You can't see him, but we are having our new Ku-ring-gai member starting in September. Okay, so what are we here to talk about? Daniela.
Hi, everyone. So it's a pleasure to be here with you all. I'm Daniela. I'm the BBP program manager here for North Sydney Council, joining you from the land of Camrigo people. And I'll just, as Amanda said, do a quick introduction. Why are we focusing on renewable energy today? So just to give a bit of context on why we're doing this webinar, the BBP member councils already ran a couple of workshops on renewable energy this year, which are available on the BBP website. You can all access that already. One was for larger energy buyers regarding the PPAs, the power purchasing agreements. And another one was on solar power batteries and energy efficiency. So we decided today to promote this webinar for businesses that do not fall under those two categories. I think those businesses, we think that those businesses can surely benefit a lot from some of the renewable energy options that we have today in the market. So today's webinar is focused on how the smaller businesses, and even the ones that do not have access to solar in their rooftop, can immediately shift to renewable energy and reduce their emissions. And first of all, as Amanda said, it's very important for councils, the emission reduction. So when we look at the bigger picture and on why BBP and the partner councils are focused on helping the businesses and the business community to understand and act towards emission reduction, it is because we all believe that climate actions, they are not only a good thing to do, but they are very urgent. We all should be doing something in that direction. We have plenty of scientific evidence nowadays to prove the impact of our actions on climate change. And all the member councils have targets to significantly reduce their carbon emissions by 2025 and 2030, like Amanda mentioned. So when we look at the amount of emissions generated from standard fossil fuel electricity to natural gas, we can see that the purchase energy is one of the business's large emission sources. Therefore, shifting to renewables, even for just a percentage, we're going to see some options. You can get a percentage of the total amount of energy you buy. It can make a big difference in terms of reducing the emissions. Also, another thing that happened this year, we saw energy price increase from 20 to 24%. So the growth of the renewable sector and more investments coming that direction would definitely make business and actually the whole community benefit from cheaper prices from renewables. And another benefit that we have as well is that nowadays more and more customers are looking to buy from greener, responsible businesses. So business should be looking into that as well. So just to give a bit of context, but I don't want to extend myself because I know our guest speakers are going to touch those subjects. I would like to welcome to the conversation Costin Dennis from GreenPower. And
Daniela, I thought I might just actually, before we proceed, to introduce the panel overall first, just so that our guests know who's going to come up. So we're going to be hearing from Costin Banos from the GreenPower Department of New South Wales Government, and then we're going to hear from Pia Peterson from one of our award-winning BBP businesses, Evoke Limousine, as a case study. And then Tim Barson, hi Tim, all the way from Adelaide, who is from a very new and innovative electricity retailer, Amber Electric. So I didn't put a slide in, I just realised while you were talking. So I thought I'd just jump in and introduce everyone and then back over to you. Sorry, Danny.
No worries. Great. So those are our guest speakers, and I'll start with Costin, talking a bit about what is the GreenPower. It's been around for a while, but it's good to let us know more deeply what is that, and also why is it a good option for small businesses. And I'll leave that with you, Costin.
Great. Thank you so much for the introduction. So yeah, today my name is Costin Banos, and I'll be talking through what is GreenPower and as Daniela said, why it's good for small business. Before I start, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the various lands on which we're meeting today and pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. And I also extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people in the meeting here today. So I guess to begin, what is GreenPower? We've been around for 26 years. So we've been around a long time, as Daniela mentioned. We're an independent government-led program. We are administered out of New South Wales government, but we're a national program. So we report to the state and territory governments across Australia. So when you're buying GreenPower, you can be buying renewable energy from anywhere in the country. And the reason that we started, and it's still so prevalent today, is that we enable households and businesses to buy renewable electricity cheaply and access renewable energy so that you can reduce your own emissions and invest in the renewable energy industry so that more renewable energy generators are built around the country. And in turn, reduce electricity-based greenhouse gas emissions. So GreenPower is both, we refer to ourselves as the program GreenPower, but you can also buy a GreenPower product. And our role is to make sure that you get what you ask for when you buy renewable energy from your retailer. So next slide, please, Amanda. Right, so why is buying renewable energy important? Well, energy contributes a significant amount to Australia's greenhouse gas emissions. As you can see on the slide there, it's the majority of emissions come from our energy sector. And within that, 70% of electricity generation is still from fossil fuels in Australia on average. So we've got a lot of work to do to decarbonize that important sector of our country. Next slide, please. Amanda? Great, thank you. So how does GreenPower work? This slide's a little bit of a tricky one, but please refrain and hold your questions till the end. But hopefully I can explain it to you well enough. So how does GreenPower work from a consumer's perspective? Number one, as the customer, you, the small business owner or an individual, will want to do the right thing and buy renewable energy. So they do that by going to number two, asking your retailer to buy renewable energy. So a retailer knows how much electricity you're consuming each year. And if you choose to buy a 100% green power product, and you can choose from 10 to 100% green power, and in ACT you can even choose 200, but that means you're matching your electricity consumption with renewable energy. And so how does your retailer buy this renewable energy? They go to number three, and they go to renewable energy generators. We accredit these generators so that the renewable energy that they produce is done in an ecologically sustainable way. And so your retailer will try and match the amount of electricity that you've used from the grid, which will be a mix of whatever's in the grid at the time, which, as we just spoke about, will predominantly be fossil fuel-based energy. Your retailer will then seek out renewable energy certificates that are certified by the government that prove renewable energy has been added to the grid. And when they buy those certificates on your behalf, we go to number four. You're adding renewable energy to the grid on your behalf. And this is the way that Australia and most other nations deal with renewable energy. It's through this certification of renewable energy and buying those certificates so that you can claim that your electricity consumption is matched with renewables. And that means that you have net zero emissions from your electricity if you've added renewable energy to the grid, and that allows us to transition our whole grid to renewables. So where does GreenPower fit in? Right in the middle. We accredit the products to make sure that the retailers know what they're doing the right thing. We accredit the generators so that they're coming from the highest level of renewable energy in the country. And then we audit the whole process to make sure that you as the customer are getting what you pay for, and that's renewable energy. The next slide, please. Great. This is where the renewable energy comes from that you would be buying if you buy a GreenPower product from your retailer. So we have generators all across the country, and we have mainly wind and solar. Some of our principles for GreenPower are to ensure that these generators are built with the community and the environment in mind. So large-scale hydro is not included in the GreenPower program, neither is biomass that's generated from native forests. And if we see that there's a controversial wind farm or solar farm, or they have an impact on the environment, we won't include that in our program. And to the next slide, please. So why is GreenPower good for small business? I myself, I'm not a salesman, so I will just tell you the facts, and then it's up to you to decide on whether it's a good idea for your business. So I guess the main point is to show that your business cares about the environment and is doing the right thing, helping us transition to a cleaner and greener I guess, industry and country, and doing that by decarbonizing our electricity grid. So when you buy GreenPower, you're eligible as a business to use the GreenPower logo, which is probably the strongest brand or trademark to show you're buying renewable energy in Australia. But what else does it do? If you're interested in other certification schemes, like the ones that we've got on the right-hand side of the slide, these other schemes like NABERS, which is the National Australian Built Environment Rating Scheme, and Green Star, which is for buildings, RE100, which is an international program. Some of you may already be B Corp certified. And then, of course, we've got Climate Active, the federal government. These, amongst others, look at GreenPower purchase and understand the fact that we've audited your renewable energy surrenders so that when you show that you're a GreenPower customer, they can be certain that you're buying renewable energy, and therefore your Scope 2 emissions or your emissions attributed to your electricity consumption are reduced by the amount of green power that you've bought. And obviously that means then you can show your customers that you're doing the right thing. So you can attract environmentally conscious customers. And we've heard from research that employees love working for a company that's doing the right thing. The next slide, please. So how do we buy green power? Most electricity retailers across Australia sell a GreenPower accredited product. So anywhere you are in Australia, you should be able to access GreenPower by asking either the retailer that you're currently with or one of the retailers on our website. We have a Find a Provider tool, and that will show you all the GreenPower providers or retailers that we've accredited that have a product that we audit. There's a snapshot of some of the providers that we've got down the bottom. These GreenPower products will cost something different retailer to retailer. So it's best to check with a couple of retailers before you lock in a GreenPower contract. We don't monitor the prices. We just make sure that when you buy GreenPower, you're receiving that renewable energy. So we definitely recommend shopping around for the best plan. And retailers can call their GreenPower products different names. So you may see some interesting names out there, but what we want you to do is look for that logo. It's an accredited, registered, trademarked logo. And it means that we've audited that product to make sure that they're doing the right thing. So if you go to the next slide, please. There's really 3 simple steps to buy GreenPower. So the first, you can check out which providers are accredited on our website. So if you go to the GreenPower website, greenpower.gov.au, and you scroll down to find a provider or go via the Get GreenPower site, you can see this tool. And there's 3 drop downs there. The first drop down, we've defaulted to residential, but if you click on that, you can go to small business or large business. The second drop down is the percentage of GreenPower that you wish. So obviously we hope that everyone wants to match 100% of their electricity use with 100% renewable energy. But of course, not everyone's budget allows for that. So you can choose how much GreenPower you want, and then the state. So for us here, it would be New South Wales, but as a national program, you can pick any state. And then step 2 on the next slide. Great. Step 2, if you go to the federal government's Energy Made Easy website, this is one of a number of sites that you can go to compare electricity prices. We recommend this one because it's a federal government website, and they show the electricity prices and also include the GreenPower prices. So you can compare 2 or 3 retailers, as I said, is best, and choose the product and the price that suits you. And then step 3 is to contact your current or new retailer to add GreenPower to your product. So I hope that that explains what GreenPower is and how we work. And I hope that if you're interested in supporting the renewable energy industry, that GreenPower is an easy way for you to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Kostan. And I just remind everyone, please put your questions into the Q&A tab at the very bottom of the Zoom. I only have 3, so if I have time, I'll put them in as well. But we are going to hear from a GreenPower customer, actually. So I'm joined by Pia, a founder of Evoke Limo. Some of you may know Pia. She recently, Evoke recently won the Better Business Retail Services Award in June this year. So you can see her there with her trophy made out of recycled plastic. And so I wanted to kick off just to ask Pia, you know, why does Evoke use GreenPower?
So I think for us, it really comes down to three main reasons. I think firstly, as Costin mentioned, GreenPower is super simple, and it's super simple for small businesses who may not have the resources that big businesses have. They make it easy for us to reduce our environmental impact and carbon footprint, which is obviously good for the community and good for the planet. Second to that, it also supports the continued growth and development of the renewable energy sector in Australia, which is obviously very important, and particularly in our space where we are an all electric chauffeur service, where our focus is very much on sustainability as well. And then lastly, the fact that the GreenPower program only certifies companies producing electricity from eligible renewable energy generators gives us the confidence as a small business that we're not purchasing a potentially misleading, environmentally misleading or greenwash product from our energy retailer as well, which is very important for us as a business.
Yeah, so the question I suppose is, with an all electric fleet, is that powering your fleet as well? So where do you use it?
So we predominantly use it for office-based purposes, but as we are running a fleet which is on the road day in, day out, and the vehicles need to be turned around quite quickly, for that we rely on fast chargers. And in terms of the fast chargers, we use the Tesla supercharger network, we use ChargeFox, and we also use EV, which are all powered by 100% renewable energy.
So I remember reading your submission about all of the employees that work for you in at Evoke being powered by GreenPower. So that I think is a great way. Particularly, I think it happened when everyone had to go and work from home. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought that was a really great example of how, as a small business, you could empower, like your staff to actually have GreenPower by including that in the sort of employment package. So, yeah, I thought that was really novel. Yeah, so how do you access it?
So we access our GreenPower through a retailer, which is AGL. We've also previously used PowerShop. Overall, we've found, I guess, GreenPower to be super simple through retailers as a whole. From sign up, it's very easy. And I guess for small businesses, importantly, it's set and forget, which is one less thing to worry about. And I guess the big question for a lot of businesses is what's the cost? So for us, it costs about an extra 4.4 cents per kilowatt hour when compared to, I guess, a non-GreenPower option. However, obviously I outlined the benefits earlier, so that cost is very much worth it for both peace of mind and, all the other benefits.
Fantastic. All right, so let's keep going. Thank you so much, Pia, and we'll come back with some questions at the end. But in the interest of time, I want to get on to introduce Tim Barson, who's Partnership Manager from Amber Electric. This is a new player in the market. I'm just going to hand over to Tim to take us through what is Amber and, how does Amber offer renewables? Do you want to just sort of say next slide, Tim? Is that?
Sure. Yep. Let's dive into it. I'll start with a quick acknowledgement of country. Amber recognises the traditional Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders of this land as the traditional custodians. Pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. And I'm coming to you from Kaurna land today in Adelaide. I'm the only Adelaide-based Amberian, but we've got a lot of renewables down here to share. So keen to talk about how we differ. So next slide, please. Amber's theory of change is that when you use power matters. We fully support and do offer GreenPower. We believe that it's an important part of getting Australia to 100% renewables, which is our mission as a business. However, we believe that you can go further and that it's when you use your power that really makes a difference. So we believe that if you can shift to actually use more renewables, then you would. And we give you the knowledge and the power to do so via our app, which tells you the live renewable percentage, as well as the live price. And this enables you to switch your usage to when it's cheapest and greenest. And we offer GreenPower on top of this, so you can really have a big impact. We don't make any money on the energy we sell or the energy we sell for you we just pass it through a cost, and we only make money on a $19 per month subscription charge. We're mostly in the residential space. However, we do have a small business offer, which will be suitable to some of you today, hopefully. And we can have a quick look at that. So next slide, please. Oh, too far.
Too far?
One more. Cool. So what we saw this time last year, was some crazy volatility in the energy market. Wholesale prices went through the roof for a number of reasons. Mostly the wholesale cost people were getting for gas went up. Russia was removed from the market. So we don't reserve our fossil fuels for sovereign use in this country. We sell it and we compete with it on the world stage. So what we use to power much of the East Coast is coal or gas, and they all went super expensive. And now the energy companies were selling to you at 30 cents a kilowatt hour and paying up to $1 a kilowatt hour for a couple of months around this time last year. And so they lost millions of dollars. And now to make that back, they've raised prices 25, 30, 40% across the board for everyone. However, since then, wholesale prices have continued to trend down. And the reality of renewables is that they're the cheapest. They have no input cost. The sun comes out most days and the wind blows quite often. And when it does, these renewable sources produce at extremely low cost. So greener equals cheaper. And if we expose the wholesale price to you, then where you can, you'll be able to shift to take advantage of that. So these are some screenshots from my app. Don't get too excited. The South Australia really leads the way with SA. You won't get too many negative prices, but I get them a bit. I run my car and get paid for it sometimes, which is quite nice. However, you will get the sort of single-digit prices on nice sunny days during the day. And it's generally cheapest in the middle of the day because your predominant solar resource is solar where you are, and there's a lot of it. Sometimes so much that you can get paid or pay very little for it, and then it'll go up of an evening. So you can probably tell when, if your business is one of those operating in the day or outside of that evening period, you'll actually do quite well. So I can show you the live price now. Go to the next slide. So this sort of makes my point. And then here is the live price in your region right now. So we're at 15 cents per kilowatt hour. And you can see the renewable percentage is 51%. As that renewable percentage goes up, the price goes down. Come evening, it's going to get up towards the 30-cent mark. Now, these prices are the wholesale cost plus network tariffs, which are also kind of an incentive to shift your usage, and any other charges that we have to pass on at cost from the government, and a small around 1 cent per kilowatt hour cost to guarantee you'll never pay more than the default market offer. And if you have GreenPower, that'll be on top of that as well. So as I said, a theory of change is when you use Power Matters, you can go further than the offsets purchased via GreenPower. You can actually provide a customer for renewable power, which helps get these projects off the ground and continues to give certainty that there is a demand for it. So you can buy more wind and solar when it's actually being produced in the grid, and you can take a customer away from fossil fuels. So when the sun goes down, there isn't that much wind, or there's a little bit of pumped hydro, a bit more coming, but it's mostly fossil fuels of an evening, and it's mostly very expensive. So you can avoid consumption then, you'll save with us. and we'll touch quickly on batteries, which is where I spend most of my time as well. But that batteries present an earnings opportunity for you to take advantage of this crazy volatility in the market. Those of us with batteries during the energy crisis last year did exceptionally well. Next slide. So in terms of who's going to be a good fit for Amber, well, where you are, it's those who have a daytime business operation, essentially. There's more renewables in the grid in the middle of the day. You don't have that much wind till we build an interconnector to meet you in New South Wales, and we'll send you some of ours. But right now, if you operate a business that doesn't use energy in the evening, then you can do quite well. And we have a cap of about 100 kilowatt hours per day from the grid that we can say, yep, if you're under that, you can join today. And that cap is there so that we can ensure we can make our no worse off than the default market offer guarantee. We buy hedging contracts or insurance to make sure that you never pay more than what the government mandates. And most of our customers do much better because they are load shifting, putting their appliances on and running their businesses or doing their laundry at home when it's cheapest and greenest. So if you run a retail outlet or a cafe or an office with a daytime load, you'll do quite well. So those that won't are those that with inflexible load profiles, like an EV charger that gets lots of use, between 5 p.m. and 9 p.m. They're not going to have a good time. A data center that can't turn off of an evening. So, or like a restaurant with an evening load consumption. But if you have a cafe or an office, and if you look at your energy bill, and most of your usage is in the off-peak or shoulder period, this is generally aligns with when it's going to be really cheap via Amber as well. Next slide. So price spikes, isn't wholesale kind of scary? Yes, well, the price can hit $15 a kilowatt hour, but I pulled some numbers from 2022, and this should sort of explain when prices spike and by how much. So what we see in the blue, whether it says one spike, that is one occurrence of a price spike in the half-hour window that aligns with the time below. So you can see that if you're running a business between 9 and 5, throughout all of 22, which was the worst year for price spikes in recent history, throughout all of 22, there were 3 occurrences of the price in the wholesale market going above $1 per kilowatt hour. So 3 in that window. The exact price is the red dot and the occurrences are the blue. So you can see if you had a business operating between 5 and 8, well, there were a few more price spikes, and then the average, so the mean of the price spikes that happened in the evening, the maximum was $6 per kilowatt hour. And this is the wholesale cost of power. There's a few more cents tacked onto that for the network charge, but no more than 50. So price spikes are irregular. If one day you have a battery, you can take advantage of them, but until then, you would want to run your business in all those hours outside of, say, 5 till 9 p.m. And you are always covered by our no worse off bill guarantee, which we'll touch on in the next slide. No, we won't. We'll talk about batteries for a second. So I thought I removed this, but essentially you can see for our battery plan on the right-hand side, that's my house. And you can see when the price hits $1 a kilowatt hour, the plan is to sell. So the price is in purple and in green. This is our battery automation product, which is available to you in the Ausgrid region, and it's even better at the residential level. Next slide. So the reason that I dropped this in there is because New South Wales, in the Ausgrid network, where I understand a number of you might live, there is a bonus feed-in tariff available, and it's where I spend most of my time talking about this offer at the moment. the network passes on a 27-cent bonus feed-in tariff for exports between 2 and 8 p.m. And this is exclusive to residential, but if you are ever considering getting a battery at your home and you live in either Ausgrid or Essential, you get the high wholesale price of power, plus you get a bonus from the network that we pass on in full. And so you can see our average feed-in tariffs for each month across the fleet and our average buy prices for each month across the fleet there. These bonuses only run for another 10.5 months. So if you were looking to get a battery and you are in one of those two networks, it will probably never be cheaper, and Amber can help you get one from a reputable place. You can also get on with your business. You can have solar and a battery and do very well with Amber. You just don't get this incredible bonus cherry on top. Next slide, please. Cool. A few questions we often get. Isn't wholesale scary, unpredictable, risky, or volatile? And how do we protect consumers? We have a bill guarantee you can read about on their website. We guarantee you'll never pay more than default market offer plus metering charges, and that's paid out quarterly. Last year, during the energy crisis, we paid out over $4 million because we make that guarantee. There's also a no worse off guarantee for those residential battery customers. And the forecast isn't perfect. It's what we get from AEMO, but it will be getting an improved update later this quarter. We can help you buy a battery, as I said, and you can also check your estimated pricing on our website. You can enter in your usage, and it will ask you, when do you use power? Can you use it in the middle of the day? And it will give you an average cost per month that you can compare to your current rates or what your next bill will be. I've generated a code for you today. We have no lock-ins. We don't believe in lock-ins. If you want to try us out, please do. You can use that code there, 319, and you get your first month free. You'll really start to, you need a smart meter to be on board, because we have to know when you're using power. That might take 3 or 4 weeks. So in your second month, you'll be able to really take advantage of, well, what is right now 16-cent power, and will shortly be 12 cents. Should have taken the blur off. You can see the price does go up a bit come 2 o'clock. This is a residential customer who's on that special tariff, but yeah, you'll often pay under 20 cents for power during the day, and sometimes in the single digits. Thanks for that. I think that's it for me.
Thanks, Tim. So the free 19, that code, is that for just 1 month, or?
Yep, that's $19 credit, which will cover your first month. And in that month, your meter will, if it's not smart, will probably be changed. And then in the second month, you'll be able to really take advantage. And if you don't like it, we have no lock-in, but we are coming into some of the cheapest time for energy use in spring. So there's more sun, there's lower demand in the grid, and the sort of hot evenings haven't taken hold. So it's one of the best times to try us out. And yeah, we'd love to have you.
Wow. Okay. Thanks for that. I don't know whether anyone else's heads are reeling. I've got lots of questions. Please start putting your questions in the Q&A. I just wanted to clarify though, Tim, with the cap, you were mentioning, was it for small businesses, 100 kilowatts per day? Is that right? Yeah, I saw on the slide it was 100 megawatts. I just got confused.
Yes, 100 megawatt hours a year is the sort of absolute maximum we could take, because it's, but we'd need to have a conversation before we take them on. If you use less than 37 megawatt hours a year, which is 100 per day, you could join today. We can let you come on board via the website and join us. Between 37 megawatt hours and 100 megawatt hours, we need to have a conversation and be sure that you're not going to use all your power during a price spike, have a bad time, and our insurance contracts need to be sort of updated to reflect that, so that we can make our bill guarantees. So that's why the 100 per day is join today. Any more than that, shoot me an email.
Well, that's great. And as you said, like it has a pretty specific target market of maybe a cafe that's open early in the morning and finishes around 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, or small offices that just are, open during office hours and weekday times. So even a home business, a lot of people in our network are home-based businesses or consultants. So I think that I know that I try and, put the dryer on during the day. So if you're working from home, it's always good to be able to shift your load and do those heavy energy things during the day. So, okay.
You'll save a lot doing that. And just one other point on the Energy Made Easy website shows Amber's worst possible outcome. So what we guarantee, which is the default market offer. If you wanted to look at another sort of reference for that, either our pricing page or the whatever website looks at much more realistic and averages across our fleet.
Okay. Oh, great. Well, look, I don't know. I haven't got any questions yet. So all of our attendees, rack your brains. But my couple of notes here, I've actually got one for Costan, just in relation to, the renewable energy that you're mentioning, or maybe it's actually for both you and for Tim, but the rooftop solar energy that is being generated, the feed in into the network, is that in any way counted, or it's completely uncounted as renewable energy, even though it is coming from the rooftops and it's just flowing in?
Yeah, that's a great question. So a slide that I usually have, but I didn't today, is I guess the hierarchy of renewable energy. And right up the top, the best thing that you can possibly do, after obviously energy efficiency measures to reduce your electricity consumption, but the best way of having renewables is on-site renewables, which is putting a solar panel on your roof. And so obviously GreenPower is great when that's not really something that you can do, or for the energy that you're not using while the sun's out. There's, I guess, some complication in terms of whether the electricity that's coming from your solar panels are counted in sort of like a bureaucratic way, and whether you can make claims around that. But essentially, using solar from your roof and then adding a battery, that's definitely the best thing that you can possibly do. Tim, I don't know if you wanted to add to that.
Yeah, absolutely. The reason I live in the battery space is because our offer is virtually unbeatable, because we give all the money back to customers, unlike a traditional VPP, which will optimize your batteries for me as the retailer, for my benefit. What we do differently is we'll optimize your battery for you, which will be different to my battery plan, and we'll give you all of the money optimizing it in the wholesale market. And what that optimization means is, cloudy in SA today, my battery will find the cheapest time to top up, which is usually the most renewable time, either when the wind's blowing overnight or my neighbour's solar system is shining, and we'll charge up then, providing a customer for my neighbour's solar or the wind in the system. And then of an evening, if there's any extra capacity that I'm not drawing from the grid because I have a battery, I'm providing one less customer for coal and gas. And if I can export at that time, not only do I get paid the same as a big coal and gas generator, I'm also offsetting coal and gas. It's one less customer buying from coal and gas. So doubled my impact. And if I have GreenPower, even better again. So absolutely, we don't own generation assets, but we do support their uptake, particularly renewables, because it's when it's cheapest. And if you are looking at solar or battery, we can sort of steer you in the right direction with people we trust and help you pay off, particularly the battery, much faster. The export from everyone's solar in your system is recognised in our app as part of the renewable percentage. So you are seeing the live renewable percentage at any time.
Yeah, if I suppose if I can just jump in there as well, I think, yeah, that was a fantastic presentation by both Pia and Tim. it's probably worthwhile just saying how both GreenPower and Amber work slightly differently, but both of them have a really important place in the energy transition. So Amber's load shifting is absolutely necessary for assisting with our transitioning to a renewable grid. Because load matching means that you're using electricity when the price is cheapest. And then you can add GreenPower as Amber, as Tim said, Amber is an accredited provider, so they have a GreenPower product. You can add that GreenPower to your electricity so that you can actually, I guess, contribute to the large-scale renewable energy industry and help add more renewables to the grid. So they both work, and as Tim said, they sort of add on to each other, so you get double impact that way. But it is important, if you were looking at those schemes that I was talking about before, like the Neighbours and Green Star, you will need to buy GreenPower so that they can see that logo and see the accredited certified renewable energy claim.
Thanks, Kastan. Danny, do you want to ask David's question?
Yeah, so we have two questions here. David is asking for a business that shares limited roof space with other businesses and would like to set up solar. Is there a way forward with that? So I'll leave that open for.
Is that a question for me?
Well, it's a general question, I guess. So for both of you, I think it's more about sharing space for businesses and how you set up solar. But I guess it falls a bit under how the solar impacts the two schemes as well.
Well, the customer needs to have their own retail meter for that customer to be able to have it recognized when they're using power. If you share one retail meter and there are a bunch of sub meters beneath it, it's the one overarching retail meter that would need to join Amber, but your neighbor might be on a restaurant and you're going to get slugged, a portion of their energy use if you're doing the right thing and load shifting to the day. So wouldn't recommend it unless you're all sort of singing from the same song sheet and have a daytime load.
And I guess another point might be it's important to speak to your local council. So we've got a couple of staff from local councils here. When you're setting up solar systems, you may often need a development approval if it's big enough. And so sharing with other businesses, you might need to contact them or contact Strata as well to work out and negotiate who shares the cost and who shares the cost saving by putting solar on your roof.
You mentioned the strata. I also have a question regarding tenants, because you often talk about landlords. So when you're a tenant, how would that work for GreenPower and for Amber? And especially if you have to have a battery or a meter, how would that work for tenants?
Yeah, I can answer that from GreenPower's perspective. GreenPower is perfect for tenants. It's really the best solution for buying renewable energy if you're a tenant, because you can't put solar on your roof. So yeah, you can just contact your retailer, such as Amber, and buy GreenPower through there. And Tim?
Yeah, so tenants, same again. If you want to take advantage of Amber, you need a retail meter, so your own NMI, not a sub meter, which is sort of what happens in an embedded network scenario. You'll have a separate meter, which isn't your own retail meter. So to make Amber work for you, you need your own meter, but you can also request to get your own meter installed in some cases. So if it is something you want to look at, take it up with your body corp and your retailer.
I'm not sure whether this question is in the chat. You can probably all see it. Ian asks the question on everyone's mind. If renewable energy is cheapest, why does GreenPower cost more?
Yep. Hi, Ian. We haven't chatted in a while. Great question. It is a question on everyone's lips, probably. So buying renewable energy is cheaper, as Tim's demonstrated quite effectively. And so obviously there's the electricity price, which when you go with a retailer such as Amber that load matches, you're buying your electricity when it's cheapest. But GreenPower is an investment in the renewable energy industry. So you're buying those certificates which represent the renewable energy added to the grid. So as I was saying before, if you want to make a legitimate certified claim that you're buying renewable energy, you actually have to buy those certificates. That's how it works in Australia, and that's how it works around the world. So you're buying the right to that renewable energy, and that's a cost. But what that cost does is it invests in more renewable energy generators to be built around the country, and that in turn reduces the electricity price even further. So you've got more and more renewables into the grid because you've paid for it. And that's why doing both at the same time, so load matching and buying green power, is the perfect way to help transition our grid to 100% renewables.
So,
Yeah.
Kostan, just flowing on from that. So, I mean, is there enough renewable energy in the grid to actually meet the green power requirements? I mean, is there any risk of it not, like you said, you have to sort of buy the certificate in advance, but is that, you know, you're buying green power, you're buying renewable energy, or you're buying a promise to build renewable energy?
Yeah, we would love if every Australian bought 100% renewable energy, because that would send such a strong market signal to all the renewable energy generators out there to build more and more and more. And so that's obviously what like Tim's model and our model is going for. We want as much renewables as possible. But no, it wouldn't be possible for everyone to buy 100% renewables at the moment, because across Australia, there's only about sort of 30% of our electricity is generated by renewables. So the way that we get to that 100% is by people showing that they want it, and being willing to pay for that green power, so that additional renewable energy, or matching their load so that they're incentivizing renewable energy generators to keep going through Amber's model. Tim, I don't know if you want to add to that.
It's very true. The strongest messages we can send through the likes of GreenPower, which gives certainty, sort of financial certainty, that a big solar farm has customers and will be profitable. Like, so it gives these developers of renewable projects, wind and solar, pumped hydro, etc., to that ability to get started, and then we'll provide an extra level of demand by our customers. And then there's the battery piece. As I said before, we can do battery only, and the economics is starting to make sense in both South Australia and the Ausgrid network. You can buy energy on spring days for next to nothing in the middle of the day, and then sell it back. So imagine buying stocks at 2 cents in the middle of the day and selling them every evening for $1. That's what our battery customers are doing. And it not only helps your climate goals, but it also takes a customer away, as I said before, from the coal that's generating power of an evening.
Is GreenPower actually investing in battery storage as well? Is that part of the infrastructure that's a separate thing?
No, that's a separate thing.
GreenPower wouldn't do that directly, but the owners of assets that do renewable generation are investing themselves. There's a lot. Energy at nighttime is worth a lot more than energy at day these days. So most of the solar farms that I'm reading about at the moment are going in with storage, and it's the storage that plays a big role and pays more to those generators. So by buying green power, they're not directly investing in it, but the companies and the renewable plants are.
Thanks for that, Tim. That's spot on.
Okay. Do we have any more questions, Danny?
I'm just going to ask, is that a time frame? So if 100% of Australia went renewable today, what is the time frame for that? I'm going to say it's an investment. So do they have like a commitment for the time frame of that investment? How does that work with the certificates?
Yeah, so the federal government has a target for renewable energy. At the moment, its renewable energy target has been met, was met 3 years ago. So there's pressure on the federal government to increase that renewable energy target. And then we've got our other, I guess, targets for emissions reductions, which go hand in hand. But there's a lot of information that's being put out at the moment that's saying for Australia to fully decarbonize its economy, we actually need more than 100% renewables, because we need to be able to use those renewables for other things like green hydrogen, and slowly transition our homes away from gas. So there'll be more and more demand for renewable electricity in the future. So 100%, we're a little way off at the moment, but that's really just the start of things as well.
I can see Ian must have his app open because he's just noting that amber power is 10 cents a kilowatt right now in New South Wales, but it's predicted to increase to 40 cents a kilowatt at 7 p.m. And that's because there's 52% of renewables in the network now, but only 4% at 7. So yeah, it really puts the power in your hands, literally, doesn't it, in terms of being able to shift it around. Okay. There was actually something that piqued my interest with you, Costan. 200% GreenPower. What's that about? Why would you buy 200%?
You've probably got more money than you need.
Oh, it's a philanthropic thing, is it?
Yeah, so there are
Okay.
6 people in Australia. They're all in the ACT, and they buy 200% GreenPower. And the ACT government already matches 97%. So essentially, those customers are buying almost 300% GreenPower or renewables, which it really just means they're investing in the renewable energy industry, and really adding extra incentive. So there's 6 super customers out there. We don't know who they are.
Okay, yes, that's a that's a very small market share. Okay, I think we might close off there, and thank you so much to our 3 panelists for spending some time with us today and sharing the ideas and the offers. So remember the offer. What was it? Oh, just have to go back one. Free 19 for a month. Give it a go. That gives you access to an app which allows you to buy power from the wholesale market, which is great. But we also have GreenPower available through every retailer, including Amber. So yeah, I think it's we say you can always just even move a portion of your electricity requirements over. It doesn't have to be 100%. That would be ideal, but even it's as low as 10. Was it, Costan? Quite a toe dip in the water. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think we do encourage the emissions from our energy sources is the biggest main footprint for a business. So it is like a really significant action that you can take and be rewarded for. And hats off to you, Pia, for being 100% emission free, really. So that's great. We I hold these webinars every quarter or so, not as frequently as we did when we were all in lockdown and glued to our screens. But we would love everyone to keep in touch with us. We are exploding on Instagram at the moment, so bbp.sustainablebiz. And then Facebook for the oldies. It's sort of become a little bit less of a live channel, but we have our Facebook and LinkedIn, our website bbp.org.au, and then please subscribe to our monthly newsletter so you can keep in touch. So thank you so much to all. We will be recording this and sending you the link together with some links back to